Welcome back to Reconfiguring Reality. I'm Laura.
I'm Jesse.
I'm the Jericho.
And I'm Josh.
And our topic today is toxicity.
So, Lorelai, what do you know about being toxic?
Oh, I know a lot about being toxic. I have my moments.
By all means, enlighten us.
Do you have moments of toxicity?
Me?
Yeah.
Never.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Chesh, what about you?
I don't. I've been petty, but I don't think I've been like toxic to anybody. I
Jess?
think of toxicity as like
Really?
league games.
Well, it all depends on what aspect of life, but I have been toxic and I know I have toxic traits.
I
Uh,
think we all have toxic traits. I'm not sure what kind of toxicity you're looking for.
okay, so the Merriam-Webster Dictionary defines toxicity as the quality or state of being toxic, like the quality or the degree of being poisonous, or an extremely harsh, malicious, or harmful quality would be a toxic quality.
Yeah, so the first definition is like actual poison.
Mm-hmm.
And this,
Mhm.
Medically toxic, yes.
yeah, the second is what I think we're talking about today, which is, when we say someone is toxic, their behavior, their attitude, etc., the way they treat people.
Yeah.
For instance, Lorelai just loves to hit me all the time. Just wails on me whenever she gets a chance.
I mean, do you deserve it?
I'm
See?
gonna go with yes.
I'm joking. I'm joking.
For those of you at home, because we don't do actual video podcasts, she is mean mugging the shit out of him right now. She is the face of such disappointment.
Now, I bring that up because not because she actually beats me, but because I wanted that elicit that reaction from her. That would be an example of toxic behavior. She knows, or either I should say, I know that she is very uncomfortable with the idea that she is an abuser. Having been on the opposite end of that spectrum, she does not like the idea that she abuses me. So when I tell stories about things like the fact she hits me when I'm sleeping, it's not like she balls her fists up and goes Mike Tyson on me for 10 rounds. It's she just flops around in bed and she ends up smacking me or whatever, but it doesn't hurt. It's just like an annoying
10
thing that
rounds.
happened,
10 rounds specifically. No more, no less.
no less. I mean, I got to go the distance. Um, but for those of you who might be like, what's toxic? That's an example. Things like gaslighting people or, spreading malicious rumors, calling people names, anything that basically would be an unkind action towards another person is
Yeah, and we
generally
don't
seen as
say
toxic behavior.
calling names in general of like we understand some of you guys have friend groups and you have certain nicknames towards people
What's
in
up, bitch?
playful manners. Yeah,
Yeah,
what's
I
up,
was gonna
bitches?
say, like, I
Like
sit there and I'll call certain people. That's my bish.
yeah. We're meaning in like, you don't know this person or you don't know them terribly well to have that kind of relationship and you're calling them things that you wouldn't normally call somebody.
Signs of a toxic person. Do you want to play?
That sounds very
Do we
PowerPointy.
do we want to play a game?
Sure.
True or false?
She sounds so happy about
Right.
it.
True or false?
Sure.
Toxic people are consistent.
Yes.
True.
False.
It is false. They are almost
What?
never consistent and have erratic behavior.
No, because one day they'll say, "Oh, I love you," and the next day they'll treat you like shit, and then 2, 3 days they'll say, "I love you," and then they'll treat you like shit, and then they'll sit there and say, "Oh, well, we're friends," and then they'll be fine for a week or two, and then no, because then if they're constant, you're gonna sit there and catch on their little facade.
They don't follow through on their commitments or promises. Yeah,
Okay,
that's
see,
where the
hold on.
inconsistency comes in.
I call
Mm,
cap. See, now we're talking about two different things, though,
Cap?
because the question was whether they're consistent, not whether they're manipulative or they're dismissive or they break commitment, because that's completely different things. Most manipulators and people who are toxic on purpose, meaning that they're not suffering from some mental disorder or Tourette's or something that's going to cause them to be unintentionally abusive towards another person. Those people think about these things. It's not like a comedian who's doing improv and it's off the cuff being an asshole. They know what they're going to say and they choose their words very carefully most of the time. Now, maybe somebody who has like extreme anger issues might fly out the handle randomly and be explosive with it. Um, but most toxic people are toxic by choice, and it's a calculated move and effort. It's not just I say things to say things. In other words, just to be edgy and shock value.
True or false? Toxic people always need attention.
true.
True, that's
I
definitely
would
true.
say true on that one.
They always need something from you. They're always seeking support emotionally, and they don't necessarily support you in return.
I feel kind of like attacked today now.
No,
No.
No, and I know. It's like karma's biting me in the ass today. Sorry.
I mean,
Should we play the JoJo Siwa song?
No.
Karma's the
oh
bitch.
my God,
I
Jericho's
I
been
should
singing
have
that for
known better.
days.
But
Oh my
so
God.
okay, yeah. So the next question.
I used to
Question.
be Rainbow Sparkles. Now I'm Dark Sparkles.
True or false?
False.
True or false? Toxic people respect your boundaries.
False.
False.
Called it.
What? Called it?
Yeah.
He
I
called it.
Yeah, he said false before you
he
read
asked
it.
the question.
That's why I kind of laughed because you went false. I thought you were answering.
So even if you tell them that you're uncomfortable with something, they will push your limits and cross your boundaries.
So I will say that not all people who do that in all scenarios are toxic.
I think it's a toxic thing to do.
Well, then you think counselors and psychiatrists are toxic because that's exactly what they do is force you to confront the things that you don't like because it's the only way to get past them.
But that's in a therapy setting. I think we're talking like outside of therapy.
Outside, same thing. There's plenty of people I've helped over the years,
Heck,
and I'm not a therapist, but
Hey,
that's
Chesh, you and Laura are crossing my boundary right now. Well, not right now, but
We're doing a podcast.
What did I do?
Let's just, no. I'm
What
just
did we
saying
do?
when we have conversations and you like Chesh sits here and says, "I'm not saying this to be mean." You know you're pushing a boundary, but it's because of the state of mind I'm in. So pushing a boundary is not necessarily a toxic thing. It depends on the person who's doing
I
it.
think it depends on the person and it depends on what boundary you are crossing.
Exactly.
well, it also depends
Whether
on situation, right? Like you can cross a boundary without knowing it. It doesn't make the person in toxic or in fault because of it. For example,
Yeah,
if
you
you
may
if
not
you
know the
had
boundaries
issues
there.
because of child molestation or you were, raped upon or whatever the case may be, those are really traumatic things. But if a friend or someone you never met never knew that and makes an off-color joke that's even reminiscent of something that could trigger you, they're not being toxic by doing it.
I have a
It
perfect
just
example that they'll
that's
both
some will.
understand. Remember when you guys we first started doing the podcast with Jericho, when he would say, "Oh, that's so retarded." You guys, that was a boundary that you guys were like, no. But he didn't understand. He didn't know, first of all, that it was a boundary. And then when I said you can't be saying that, I had to tell him, this is the boundary and this is why. And sure, sometimes it slips because that's
Well,
his
yeah,
thing,
but
but he's not doing it to cross that boundary.
No, and it is a boundary for me with certain people,
Mhm.
because people of my generation and older, it was not used in ways it's used in other by
It wasn't used in derogatory slang.
yeah, it was something that was just socially acceptable. And I will tell people, you know what, I really don't appreciate that, but I understand it's going to slip. So even when he does it, he's not crossing a boundary, because I know he's not meaning it in a way it's been used
Yeah,
when
product of
I've
the
had
time.
an issue. Yeah.
It's the same thing. Like I grew up in California. We're like California, for better or for worse, is the mecca of acceptance when it comes to a lot of things. Like like trans, gay, all that stuff. That was all California long before it was anywhere else. Not that they didn't have those people, but I mean, West Hollywood, prime example. Like gay rights parade. It was widely
Everybody's
accepted.
more, accepted. There's more freedom, so to speak, than in other places.
Exactly. And so like fag, for example, right? Like I don't go around saying the word all the time because I know that there's a lot of people who are more sensitive nowadays. But back in my day, that was a way to describe somebody. But we weren't actually describing somebody who was homosexual, even though that's what it was, right? That you're basically saying that gay people are as a derogatory term, so you're calling a straight guy gay because that's offensive to a straight guy, not because literally being gay is the problem. It's just most gay people at that time that were out were very flamboyant. They tend to be more feminine from males being gay, and they were seen as like weaker because they seemed like females, right? Like physically weaker, not weaker in general. So that was where that kind of spawned to. So if you're with your male friends and male, toxic masculinity, we're over here just ripping on each other constantly. That's what you do. You'd be like you'd say, hey, then fag, and then it was like homo, and then that turned it into no homo, and then you know eventually it kind of got weeded out. But that's again, it's just those terms from back in the day that people used to use all the time.
Well, it's just like when I would play League, and I'm not the best League player, but the amount of people that would tell me to go kill myself, they didn't know that's a boundary for me.
Mhm.
So but to them, it's okay to say that, because to them, oh, I'm just saying it to a random person on the internet. It doesn't matter.
When in all actuality, it does. You know, you don't know what that person's like on the
Yeah,
other
but
side. You don't know what
everybody,
kind of day they had.
yeah,
So that might have been the straw right there.
but that's the thing is, and even I'll admit, I really wasn't. I would get wrapped up in things, and yeah, I would be toxic at times, and then I would stop, like I would calm down and look at the situation, and be like, oh, I overstepped a bound. Like, I know I have toxic traits. I know I can be toxic at times. It's just, it depends on the type of people you're around too. You may get wrapped up into something that you're not normally going to say or do. It's like a, what is that?
People's influence.
No, mob mentality.
It's echoed around
One
you.
person does it, and then another person jumps in, and then another person jumps in, and you're like, oh, I'm gonna jump in too.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it's so good.
True or false? Um, toxic
Sure.
people. What?
He
So
said
true.
sure.
Toxic people can't be happy for you.
2 for 2.
I say
Uh,
false.
I don't have an answer. I'm in between.
It's true.
You think a toxic person can't be happy for you? They may be, but
I think they can be happy, but I think then after they realize what they're happy for, it turns into jealousy, and then it turns into
well, no, because her question was, toxic people can't be happy for you. I think it depends on the situation, because a toxic
That's what
person
I'm saying. Yeah,
So I think it's false, because a toxic person is not going to be 100% unhappy with something that happens to another person, because maybe in that day they're not being toxic.
Well, and you also have to think, let's put it in a partner situation. Your partner just got a promotion, which is fantastic for the both of you, but it's about your partner, not about you, and then they turn it into them. So they can be happy, but at the same time,
What do they do normally?
Excuse me.
they'll flip it and turn it into about them or
And
that you could
one
have
up
done
you.
better.
One
Yeah, and
uppers.
try to one up.
Yep.
So I
So
think they
I guess
can be
true
happy for
then?
you,
Yeah.
but at the same time, the happiness doesn't last for long.
They're gonna one up you so that they have the positive attention.
See,
So it
I
is
think
true.
the key to it is that
Yes.
it's toxic person. A toxic person isn't a person with toxic tendencies or someone who can be toxic. It's someone who is always toxic. Hence,
Yeah,
they're
but
a
see, my
toxic.
brain doesn't work like that. I try and see the good in everybody no matter what.
Oh, join the cynicism. It's fantastic.
Well, that's what Bubba tells me is one of my toxic traits. And it's not toxic in a bad way. It's just toxic to me personally.
It's toxic to the
Because
people that do it.
Yeah, because I sit there and I see the good in everybody. Like
There's nothing
like
wrong with seeing the good in people. That's not toxic. It's a good thing to
but
have.
it's toxic when it affects me personally, when all of a sudden, like, I can see the negative tendencies in people, but all I focus on are the good things because I want to keep that person happy, or I want to keep something that's not good for me.
You got to play to your strengths. So if you're a very reactive person, then you need to use that to your advantage. So you have to try to see the good in people. Hey, great, glad things are good. We're all happy, go lucky. And then when someone does something bad to you, punch a bitch in the throat. Just react, let that anger rage and explode. Very easy.
It's gonna be a lot of bitches being punched in the throat.
I'm just saying.
I
Shit gets
was not
done.
Well,
expecting that. I
see,
should have been
and
expecting that response, and I was not. I
like
wasn't ready.
the hard thing for me is like with He Who Shall Not Be Named that we talked about earlier.
The first one or
Good
the second
song.
one?
The one that you said that about abandonment and letting go.
The first one.
That person.
Good
Um
shit.
I just say he who shall not be named. Um oh my god, I just lost my fucking train of thought.
I'm
Oh,
sorry.
like no matter what, no matter how he treated me, I still always saw the good in him. Even though everybody else is like, oh, there, it's this, that, and this, it's toxic, blah, 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 blah. You don't need him. I still don't hate him.
Sure.
I wish I could,
Sure.
because then I could just be the cold-hearted bitch that, like, there have been people I've literally just cut out of my life. Like, nope, you're not worth it anymore. But then a year or two down the line, I see how miserable they are and they're trying to reach out to me, and I get sucked back in, and then I'm the bad person because I left them. And then I'm in their life for a little bit, and it's like they just wanted me back in their life quick to comfort them, and then I get attached and I get screwed over.
Oh my god, I hate the people that you know.
Oh, that's why I'm trying to keep my circle small now, because I can't do this anymore. Like I really wish I could just be a cold-hearted bitch and be like the thug, and I'm gonna thug this out and just move on with my life, and like I know my worth and all this other kind of shit, but it's just I wasn't happy when I did act like that. I'm not happy now. I don't know how to find a happy medium, whatever the fuck it is.
So wait, you feel alone right now, Laura?
Yeah, like since we've been back and everything went down with Lost Souls, every night I'm sitting in a call by myself working on the city alone.
Listen, if I
Alone.
could stay up to the hours that you could stay up, I would. I would sit with you.
For me, it's not like I want you to feel alone. It's just I feel like a burden right now, and you can tell me I'm not.
I'm working on it. I'm working.
I tell her at least twice a day she's not a burden.
I know. I'm working on it.
No, I know, but I sit by myself.
Which I
'Cause
have
that's
offered many
No,
times
I know, but
today.
that's how I process things. But then I beat myself up, which technically is toxic.
Toxic.
But it's just
Welcome
it's how
to
I
the
did it.
Toxicity
It's
Club.
how I did it a year ago. Did I not? I would pop in, say hi to you guys when you were all in Lost, and I would vent and cry, and then I'd be like, "Oh, I'll be back," and then I would just disappear
Never
because
come
I'm like, they don't need to hear it over and over and over again. It's part of having BPD is you can tell me all day, every day that I'm not a burden, that you're fine with me talking about the same thing over and over and over until I heal.
But Jesse, what do I do with you when I'm upset?
But see, when I have other people's issues to help them with, I'm not thinking about mine. So to me, I don't care. I would rather make sure everybody else around me is okay than if I'm okay.
Do you need me to go start some shit?
No. I just
Do you want me to go start some shit so you can have a mental break?
no, because I'm helping other people deal with shit. It's just then I help them and they are feeling better, and then I'm sitting there dealing with it by myself because I'm like, oh well, because in my mind right now it's, oh, they're saying this, but they really don't mean it and they're gonna leave sooner or later.
Do you want to plan my wedding?
When are you getting married?
I don't know, but it'll keep me in your life forever. Because I may never get married. Do you want to plan my
Anyways,
wedding?
next toxic question to see if we can get it right.
True or false?
You think toxic chicks are hot? Subscribe to
What?
our Patreon.
Oh my god.
It's never quite as wet and wild as when they're crying. Just remember.
Oh my god. My husband, ladies and gentlemen.
Subscribe.
Look, the only thing that sells better than sex is,
Crying ladies
damaged
on the
goods.
internet.
Exactly. Every man wants
Hey,
to
if
be
it
a hero,
makes
so he
money,
needs a damsel in distress.
I'll spill my heart and soul and
Oh
cry.
my god. Damaged goods. But it's
Anyways,
finger guns.
what's the true or false? What's the true or false?
Oh
Try
my
it next time. I'm just saying. You're on a
god.
date. You
Oh
take
my
the
god.
guy back home in the middle of it.
I'm trying to keep us on track here,
Suddenly
people.
whisper in his ear, just be like, I have to issue. All of a
I
sudden,
have issues.
he's going to be
Welcome
titanium
to
rod going to
therapy.
town looking for oil. I'm telling you.
True or false? Toxic people never manipulate others to get what they want.
False.
Never.
False.
I'm straight up crying right now.
Is our answer right?
Of course it's right. They do manipulate people. Yes. Yes. To get what they want.
Oh my god.
A toxic personality is characterized by negative, hurtful, controlling words and actions that cause insignificant distress to others. So we did say manipulation, and of course we know that's deceitful, like they use guilt or emotional tactics to control or influence others.
Gaslighting!
Yes, gaslighting is definitely a toxic.
What's gaslighting?
Oh, when a person asks for reassurance and then you reassure them, but then when they ask for reassurance or accuse you of cheating, they sit there and say, when do I have the time for cheating? Then you find out they cheated!
Are you sure you just weren't smiling enough?
Fuck you! Tell me to smile again and see what the fuck happens!
All right, but first, can you explain gaslighting to me again?
Gaslighting is labeled as a form of an emotional abuse because it involves one person trying to convince the other person that they are crazy.
Welcome to the podcast. We're just gonna gaslight you today.
He tries to gaslight me all the time in like
Jericho, that's not okay.
not in like malicious ways, but he does it just to get under my skin.
Like if you're getting shorter or not?
God.
Look, she doesn't let me under the clothes. The skin's the next target.
What?
I'm getting under one way or another. That's all I'm saying.
You're
I
either
get
gonna
mine.
get under the clothes or under the skin.
That's it.
Either way, he's under.
Little bit of that down
I
under.
need a fucking, you know what? I need a Jericho. That's what I need in my life. A fucking Jericho.
Everybody needs a Jericho.
Oh my goodness! Do you know that game? Two Truths, One Lie.
this
Yes.
podcast.
Okay, we're gonna play that for a second.
Oh fuck.
I'm gonna tell you two
Fuck.
truths and one lie about warning signs for a toxic person.
I have PTSD from this game.
You have to tell me which one's a lie. You ready?
Okay.
You feel like you're being manipulated.
Okay.
You're constantly confused by the person's behavior. Or you don't feel like you deserve an apology that never comes.
We're looking
Right.
for the lie.
Mm-hmm.
I've
the-
already forgotten what you've
The
said.
first one's a lie.
Yeah, the first one's the
You
lie.
feel like you're being manipulated.
Yeah.
But if you're in a toxic situation and you feel like you're being manipulated, wouldn't that be like a sure sign
Not
that you're being?
necessarily, because it
If you're
depends
being
on the.
manipulated, you don't necessarily think it's your fault, or you don't think it's their fault. You just assume that you're doing something wrong because they manipulated
You're both
I don't like this
you're
game.
both wrong. That is a true statement. That's a warning
Which
sign
one's
that
the-
you're dealing with a toxic person. Yes. The second one I said was constantly confused by the person's behavior.
you. Yes.
I'm constantly confused by all
But
y'all.
if it's a toxic person, not like just toxic traits, if it's a toxic person, of course you're going to be confused because they're not consistent.
Okay, so
Happy
you think
one
that's a
minute,
true statement?
horny the next.
I think it's a true statement because of the fact of the matter is if a toxic person is not constant for a week or two, let's say they're not toxic at all because for some reason, let's say they're being toxic to someone else, but then all of a sudden they turn around and they're being toxic to you, and then a day or two goes by and then they're not being constant then. Or I've lost my train of thought already, but to me, you're not going to sit there and think you're manipulated with a toxic person because they're just going to gaslight you, which then is just going to confuse you even more.
You're correct. That statement is true. Yes. The last statement was you never feel like you deserve an apology. That never comes. Which would be the lie.
Wait,
Because
did you say you never feel like you deserve an apology that never comes? Originally, you said you feel like you deserve an apology, but it never comes.
no,
I think
No,
you
she
read
said you I don't
you
know.
don't.
Now I'm
You
confused.
don't. You don't feel like you deserve an apology. Is what I said.
So the lie is you
You
feel
always
like you're
feel
being
like you
manipulated.
deserve an apology, but they never apologize to you.
on cap.
Right, question. What
I
if they
fucking
do
hate that you
apologize,
say that.
but they're still toxic?
Look, I got my glow up. All right.
I mean, what are they apologizing for? I'm sorry you feel that way. That's not an apology.
No, like if you sit there and you tell them that you're hurt by their actions and they say, I'm sorry that my actions hurt you.
That's sus.
Bless you.
Thank you.
So you're getting an apology. It's just a gaslit apology, probably then.
Well, it's probably an apology that they're going to then spin around to make it on you instead of it should be on them.
Was there always a
Alright.
but statement in there after they apologize like that? But
No.
okay. Okay, one more time. Ready? Two truths, one lie. You
Mm-hmm.
you never have to defend yourself to the person. You never feel fully comfortable around that person. Or you feel bad about yourself in their presence.
Wait, so repeat the first two.
You always feel like you have to defend
No,
yourself.
you never feel like you have to defend yourself?
You never feel like you have to defend yourself. You never
That's
feel
the
fully
lie.
comfortable around them. You feel bad about yourself in their presence.
See, I'm going off of like my
I don't like how these
experiences.
are
So
worded.
this is where I'm running into the issues. I'm going off of my experiences. So for me, the lie is the second one.
You never feel fully comfortable around them.
Yeah, because there have been people who I've realized that have been toxic that I've been fully comfortable with.
I can see that. But it's the first one because you have to defend yourself around toxic people.
Yeah, that
It's the
but
gaslighting.
it's hard for me because I'm going off of my experiences where some people are just a little bit better at masking their toxicity
Mm-hmm.
from me because, like I said, I believe in the good of people. So yeah,
Listen,
maybe
I've
they had a
told you
shitty
we can
day.
get petty.
I know we can get petty.
We can get petty, but I won't let us get toxic. Unless you want to.
Unless you really, really want to.
Then I gotta advise a whole different group of people. Because I don't know what the fuck to do.
Oh, I know I could be extremely toxic. I just choose not to because I believe in karma.
Some signs that you might be dealing with a toxic person. See if we agree or disagree.
Oh, fuck.
You feel emotionally drained after being with them.
Depends on the person, I guess, for me.
You value their opinion over your own.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You frequently feel confused by their reactions.
Mm-hmm.
You find yourself making excuses for their behavior.
Uh-huh.
Toxic versus abusive relationships. An abusive relationship is one step past toxic, and the person no longer feels safe. Manipulation, shifting the blame, intimidation, and accusations are all signs that a relationship may have become abusive. Nothing. Nobody. Nothing.
Nope, just crickets.
A relationship can become toxic when one person starts to have more control than the other and there is a breakdown in communication. That individual may start displaying negative behaviors such as being dishonest, pressuring their partner into sexual activities, being inconsiderate, refusing to take accountability for their actions, not communicating effectively, and trying to make most of the decisions. So that is a toxic relationship. How many of us have been in one of those?
Me.
Yeah.
Begrudgingly put my hand up for that.
Have been in one of those relationships, or are the person in that relationship?
Have been
Have
in
been in.
either
Sure.
side.
See, in my situation, it wasn't
Been both. Oh,
him.
I will admit to that. I've been both.
In my situation, it wasn't my partner, more along his friends that were doing a lot of that to me. I mean that it's no excuse on his part because he did have his own piece to play, but it
But
was
he let other
mainly
people's opinions
yeah,
influence him.
which yeah, so it's yeah,
Let
but
they
I
without
don't
toxicity cast the first stone.
Yeah, I will say I've been on the receiving end and the giving end of being in a toxic relationship.
I'm gonna keep my mouth shut on that one. I was going to be like kinky. Receiving him, yeah. In my mind.
I've also been both sides of that.
I'll admit I have learned I still have toxic tendencies in my relationships, but I tend to sit there and look back and be like, oh, okay, I can understand why they called me toxic at that point in time. And then just try and change it for the next go round. Because I think everybody is toxic at one point in time, whether they want to admit it or not. There's no way a person is not toxic to someone in their life.
I agree with that. I think everybody has maybe
They,
that one person that it's just
and maybe in my opinion, they may not be self-consciously choosing to be
doing it. Yeah.
toxic, but they just are.
Yeah, I'm not going to tell that story. Signs of a toxic relationship. Toxic relationships lack support. One of the partners is like extremely jealous. The communication is toxic. There's resentment held from one person. Somebody just shows like controlling behavior, dishonesty, patterns of disrespect, ignoring each other's needs, or the feeling of you have to walk on eggshells.
Mhm.
Yeah. What kind of effects do toxic relationships have?
A lot of anxiety.
Why do I feel like everybody's staring at me right now?
Oh, I'm staring at Laura.
Okay.
Laura and I have our cameras on, so she's moving, so I'm focused on her.
I'm swaying. Sorry. What?
No, I need you're keeping my track, so it's good.
But yes,
What
anxiety.
what
Anxiety is definitely an effect of a toxic relationship.
self-doubt, self-loathing.
Depression.
Mm-hmm.
And the list goes on and on and on and on and on.
PTSD, lack of
Yeah.
sleeping,
Lack of
Abandonment
eating,
issues.
lack of enjoyment in things you used to find enjoyment, not thinking.
losing
You
self
sound like
worth.
the list that the OBGYN gives young ladies.
Sitting
You
there
know
and
that
trying
list.
to work on yourself and feeling like you're a burden to everybody.
Right. What?
This topic really had to happen right now. Like, sorry, I'm still trying to wrap my head around
God
it.
works in mysterious ways.
Yeah, well, stop it. Just fucking stop it.
What?
If you need to take a minute, tell us.
What can we do as individuals when we see somebody struggling through or trying to get over or out of a toxic relationship? What are some of
Oh,
the
I thought
things that we can do?
I thought you were gonna ask what we could do if we see somebody in a toxic relationship, and my first thought was deck a bitch in the throat.
Okay. Wow.
But that question definitely went in a different direction than what I was expecting.
Well, what can we do?
Support. That's all you can do is you support them and you help them understand that there are certain things that aren't their fault. Um, you try to bring them back to more of a sense of normalcy before said person. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So you pretty much will just it's a lot of sit and listen and working with that person so that they understand that it's not on them. It's not their fault. They didn't do anything wrong. They don't deserve the way they feel.
Because this podcast is on toxicity and toxic people, I do want to pull in the idea of toxic parents as well as
Oh,
partners.
I can give you fucking years of that.
So I don't feel like my mom was toxic when we were growing up. I feel that there could be toxic traits that she has, as we all
Mhm.
do, of course, right?
You
But
know.
I don't think she was a toxic parent. My dad was very introverted and very quiet, so the only time that man raised his voice was when the Steelers were on.
See, my family growing up was similar to that. Like, growing up, I didn't think I thought it was normal to be treated and talked to the way my mother talked to us. And it's not that my dad didn't care, it was he was doing the best with what he could. Working 60, 70 hours a week, he couldn't be at home to try and protect us from her, the way she talked to us. Like, from this, still to this day, until I decide to actually follow through and finish therapy and shit like that, I'm gonna have issues with body image, because growing up, all I'd hear is you're fat, you're this, you're that, and she didn't hide it. She was flat out toxic by that. She would hit us. She would belittle us. We were her slaves, stuff like that. And in her way, yes, that was her loving us because I don't know how my grandparents raised her. Because growing up, my grandparents were great, but she never talked about her childhood. So I don't know if they did those type of things to her and she just was repeating it.
Mm.
But it's one of those things where, yeah, parents can be just as toxic as significant others or friends or random people.
I'm gonna call you out, Chash, because I know you have a relationship with a grandparent who is toxic.
Mm-hmm.
And Jess
You
said,
want me to get
Jess,
into it, or
Jess said that, that always being called fat and everything, and my mind immediately went to your
I
grandmother.
was never called. Okay. Let me preface it this way. My grandmother, my family, we have a German side to our family, and Germans are very plump, I think is the
Hardy
right
people,
word.
they're hardy.
We're hardy. We're shaped. We're shapely people. Um, that being from my mother's side. The grandparents that Laura is talking about are from my father's side. Uh, with my grandmother on that side, she didn't like that I am very heavy chested. That being said, I did dress very modestly. Nobody can see it besides the people in this call, but I have shirt on. I'm completely covered. Um, that's how I usually was around her, but she would make comments about my physical appearance, and of course, at that age of adolescence, you're very what's the word I'm looking for? Easily
Impressionable.
discouraged, impressionable. Yeah, you're very impressionable at that age. Especially it was like what, mid puberty maybe,
Yeah,
and that.
when girls
Yeah,
start liking boys and it matters what you look like and how you feel about yourself and
mainly when you start developing, because this was never really an issue when I was a child before puberty. So when I developed, breasts, a butt, everything like that,
a womanly
and
figure.
a womanly figure, I'm very hourglass shaped. She had an issue with it, and she made it very known. The last time I saw her, she had made a comment about me. I walked upstairs. I called my mother. My mother called my father, and we left. Have not talked to her since.
Jericho,
What up, yo?
you had a toxic grandmother as well, don't you?
Uh, so technically, yes. So initially, she was not a toxic person. My grandmother was cool as shit, and
Wasn't she a
she
nun?
no, that's on my dad's side.
Oh,
So I have
okay,
two of
different.
them.
The other grandmother. Okay.
Yeah, no, it's weird parents. Um, but no, yeah, I had two grandmothers, one on my dad's side, one on my mom's. My mom's side's the one that doesn't really get along with me, and she doesn't get along with anybody, to be fair. Now, she was a very outgoing woman, and my grandfather was a very stubborn man. And when he passed, he was left to raise basically five kids on her own. And at this time, this is, you have to remember during the time where, like, we're talking about the Desi Arnaz days, where Hispanics were looked down upon. And if you spoke with an accent or you spoke Spanish, you were treated like you were an idiot or a second class citizen. Um, so, in order to make sure she survived in America, she whitewashed herself and would wear white face paint covering like powders and things to make herself look Caucasian. And she learned to speak with a perfect English accent, not British English, just American English. And she would never teach her kids Spanish. So, as she went through life and was like, you have to pull yourself up by your bootstraps, my mother was the black sheep of the family. Being the oldest, she had to help raise the kids and had to sacrifice a lot of the things that they got to benefit from. So she was the rebellious one. She had different things, and towards the end of my grandmother's days, as you know, a normal person before she retired, she was very much like, "This is how the world is." Well, when she finally reached retirement age, she would walk 5 miles every day and do all this kind of stuff. But eventually, her heart turned on her, and she had to stop doing all these things because she simply couldn't anymore. And it was almost like metaphorical, but when her physical heart started to decline, so did her emotional one. She became very toxic, very angry towards the world, towards people,
Very bitter.
and just bitter in general. Like when my mom was on her deathbed in the hospital, uh, that is the end of our relationship because she gave the order to pull the plug. My mom didn't want that. My mom had always said she never wanted to be kept alive on machines if she was a vegetable, not if she could get better, which she could have, because she was dying from toxicity. Uh, but my grandmother was like, "Well, who's going to pay for that?" And that was her methodology behind it.
That was the reason why, was who's gonna pay for that?
Yes. So when this happened, her and I were on the phone, and she basically told me, "Look, you're not going to pay for it." I'm like, "You don't know what the hell I was going to do." She's like, "Well, you weren't there." And I said, "I got told less than 24 hours ago, and I have a flight booked tomorrow. What are you talking about?" And she just continued with her toxic attitude towards me, so I lit her up. And then my Aunt Martha took the phone and said, "Don't ever call her again," which I didn't. Eventually, I tried to reconcile with her on for my mom's behalf because she would have wanted that. And my grandmother basically told me that I was a terrible person, a terrible father, and that my son's lucky not to be in jail. So I was like, okay,
I would consider that a toxic person.
Yeah.
yeah.
See,
So
I
got
will
enough, and then moving on.
I will say I had a toxic grandmother also. So my mother,
Just a running theme.
well, so my mother had an affair and got pregnant with me. My dad raised me though. He raised me like I was his own. My grandmother, though, treated me like I didn't belong in the family because of something my mother did. I got the punishment for it. And I will admit, as I got older, I started to realize more. But she tried to redeem herself. And I trusted her with what happened with my children when my ex was deployed. And I told literally her, my ex stepmother, and then my ex husband's parents knew because of situation. She proceeded to then tell the whole entire family about what happened. And I was like, yep, there's the toxic still. Even though she promised she wouldn't tell anybody and let me do it on my own time. I will be cordial with her. If I see her at a family event, I will say hello. That is about it. Because it's like, I gave you a chance and you just turned around to be toxic again. You're not worth it anymore.
So, as a child, you don't know any other family dynamic besides your own. So, it may not be until adulthood that you realize you grew up with dysfunction. And even then, because you love your parent or grandparent, you may have trouble seeing them for the toxic person they really are. Here are some red flags that you have a toxic parent. They're physically, verbally, or emotionally abusive.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
They try to control you, whether it be by criticism, guilt trips, or other manipulative behavior.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
They're self centered and use you to fill their emotional needs.
Mm-hmm.
They're unpredictable and lash out.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
They may deny that traumatic events in your childhood actually happened or
Oh
accuse you
yeah.
of exaggerating.
Yep.
Uh-huh.
I
Uh-huh.
never hit
Uh-huh.
you.
Oh, I never gave you a black eye. You were never in foster care because of me.
It was the love tap. Doesn't hurt that much.
Look, right crosses are for family. It's like the good china. You only bust them out for special occasions.
The last one is they refuse to take responsibility for problems in your relationship.
Uh-huh.
The impact of.
And,
Sorry, go ahead.
and don't, especially with me, don't, I love my mom. I miss my mom every day. It's just I can see it now since she's gone more clearly. And it makes me feel bad that I have anger towards her because of how she was.
Do you mean because
Because
of the mental disorders, or
no, not even because it wasn't just her that caused me to have the issues I have.
I meant
She
hers?
was a bit, yeah, but it's one of those things where she also had her own mental
That's what
illnesses.
I
She
meant.
was,
Yeah.
yeah, so she she had her own issues and she dealt with it. It's just more of the fact that it's like, well, damn, I wish she was still around so I could try and do a little bit better since I have a little bit more clarity. Now, and every girl wants a great relationship with her mom because every girl just wants her mama. And it's like I feel cheated to a point too that I didn't get that.
Do you want my mom?
As I think I'm broken.
Uh, I don't know if I'd be able to handle a normal relationship with a mother because I don't know what to do with it.
You just be. That's what
Just
you
like
do. You just exist.
well, see, like the thing is, like I had a great relationship with Sean's mother. Like she loved me. She loved my uniqueness, my weirdness. But now it's like she'll make little comments and I overthink being like, "Oh, she's kind of toxic." Because she's that Minnesota passive aggressive.
Mm,
We're Minnesota nice.
okay.
Yeah, sometimes we're Florida nice.
So the impact of toxic parenting can follow you through life, as we are all well aware, and influence your adult relationships and put you at a higher risk for psychological issues such as mood disorders and or substance abuse. Some of the mental or mood disorders
Are
that
we
are
crying or are we laughing? Hold on. Jesse.
Oh, it's because I just feel like I'm being targeted. I know I'm not, but I just feel like I am today.
You're not.
Oh, definitely are. 100%. It's all been orchestrated.
not purposely. Mental health disorders that are associated with, like the emotional and the mood disorders and mental health disorders that are associated with toxic parenting include but are not limited to antisocial personality disorder, substance use disorders, postpartum depression. Who would have thought? That's interesting. Bipolar disorder, narcissistic personality disorder, BPD, and others.
3 of those, Jesus Christ!
Well, now you know why. I'm sorry.
No, I know. It's just fuck. It's just. Oh, it's funny
You
to
know
me.
what? At
Sorry.
least she can laugh about
So
it.
I think at this point we need to point out two very important things to the listeners. One, we are not professionals. If you feel any of this, find help in your community or a
Yes,
therapist
please.
or
And don't quit just because it gets hard, because then you wind up like me.
and two,
Or, no kidding.
and the second thing we need to point out is the running theme here is Jess keeps saying that she feels like she's being attacked or that it's like geared focused on her. She's actually going through a situation right now where we're trying to get her away from somebody who we feel is toxic for her. So that is where we're
Welcome to
at.
your intervention, Jesse.
Yeah, that is where we're at with that. Sorry if we didn't like clue you in earlier, but
Well,
this topic
it's a
is not. It was not designed to attack
No, it's
Jess
just
or
this
karma.
topic was picked months ago.
Yeah.
Just to let you guys as viewers know that we didn't change anything, even though Laura and myself did know the situation. Jesse did not ask us to change anything.
I thought it would be good, seeing as the podcast itself was created as kind of like a homework assignment for Jess for her therapy. I felt like this topic just hit perfect timing.
But yeah, if you guys do feel like you are in situations where you don't feel safe or, any of the things we've talked about, please go and see a professional. That being said,
I am gonna say one little disclosure. If you are trying DBT for any type of disorder, I understand a year is a long time of commitment, but it does help. Just if I could go back, I would. I probably could go back. I just don't have the means to right now.
What is DPT?
The therapy that is pretty much the only thing that is there to help people with BPD besides like talk therapy and medication.
Got it.
It helps you rewire your brain, and I gave up maybe 6 months into it because it was just getting too hard because I didn't want to deal with everything, and now I'm kind of really wishing I did. But since I don't have insurance, I can't afford $700-800 a week.
Mm-hmm. I think we need to talk to your boss about getting you insurance. Jeez.
No, I can't afford the insurance through work. And I'm gonna talk to them tomorrow with Liam's. So it may be a little bit harder depending on if they do allow me back because you have to be out for a year. I don't remember when my year is, but I can probably guarantee you if I email my therapist, I can go back.
Are you still doing other therapy right now, or no?
Nope. I literally quit everything because it was getting too hard for me and I didn't want to deal with things. But
We are raw dogging this shit.
yeah, and even though Chesh tells me to take my meds every night, I haven't been on my meds for months because I can't afford it.
Motherfucker.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, well, if you had told me that. Why didn't you tell me?
Because I knew how everybody would react. Like
But
I
if you
know I
can't,
need
okay.
my, but I
But
know I
here's the
need my
thing.
meds,
Hold
but
on.
I
But here's
can't
the
afford
thing
them.
is being off of them, just to be off of them, I would have been a little upset about because you need them. Being off of them because you can't afford them, that's understandable.
It's also,
Okay?
you should have told us because there are means to find ways to help you pay for shit like that.
But anyways, back on
I mean,
topic.
Jericho is in between. It was in between insurances, and you found ways, Jericho. Didn't you find ways to pay for your meds,
Well, the meds aren't the
discounts and stuff?
problem. It's
Yes.
because I
Oh, the
think
trigger
when I
moment.
ran when I had a prescription that I refilled, my insurance laxed, and it was like 20 some bucks. It's the $800 just to see my psychiatrist I can't afford.
It's for the
But there,
refills.
yes, but there
Mm-hmm.
is I have been seeing things about like being able to get like a psychiatrist online
Mm-hmm.
and then they just refill your meds for you. So I might try and see if that's cheaper than trying to do like an in-office one.
Okay. Because I know my son quit going to therapy for a little while, and he wanted to get back on meds, but he wouldn't. He just couldn't make himself get there.
Well, like I know it right now, but I can guarantee you if I don't get back on them in a month, I'm going to tell you everybody I'm fine.
But you're not, and we know
Yeah,
it.
and that's what I'm
Yeah.
gonna sit there and go, "Did you get back on your meds?" And you're gonna go, "No."
And I
And
will
I'm gonna sit
admit,
there and be like, "Then you're not fine."
I will admit, you guys, Bubba, and I don't have the permission to say his name, but the one I've been spending some time with to try and deal with everything.
Mm-hmm.
You all know when I say I'm fine, I'm not fine. So it's one of those things where I'm slowly changing my dialect so people think I'm okay.
So, if you were on your meds, the whole situation that just went down this past week.
Oh no, I would still be like this. I wouldn't be showing my emotions as much. I wouldn't be just randomly crying throughout the day. I wouldn't be, but if I was still in, or if I was still in therapy, at least, because DBT is only a year long, I would have graduated in June.
I love that you would graduate.
Yeah. Um,
Sorry, it's
I would have
just
at least
cute
still
to
had
me.
my individual therapy
Mm-hmm.
where we also were going to, after DBT, do trauma therapy,
Mm.
which is another type of therapy to deal with my childhood post traumatic stress and all that kind of stuff. It wouldn't have, I would have had a professional to talk to help me more than what I have now.
Right.
So I'm kicking myself in the ass for letting everything lax and for quitting when I knew it was for the best of me, but I just didn't want to deal with everything because I don't want to I have, what is it, toxic masculinity to a point where, well, if a woman shows too much emotion, she's a weak ass bitch. I want to be considered an equal to a man, so I'm not going to sit there and show my emotions. I shut down, and then when shit like this happens, everything just explodes.
Okay, well, I guess that's it for today's podcast. Join in the conversation below. What's some of the toxic things that you see in people? How do you avoid toxic gaming?
Don't play League of Legends. Sorry, I had to. Don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, share, follow, all that jazz.
Goodbye.
Bye.
I'm gonna have to find cricket sounds to put in there.
Oh,
Cricket,
hold
cricket,
on.
cricket.
Hold on. Where's my soundboard? Why the fuck do I not have a soundboard in here?
I don't have one set up in Figuring Reality.
I have crickets.
All right, we don't have a soundboard. Jess, hit us with an uwu.
That
Jess?
is the one and only time you guys are gonna get that.
We
That
didn't
did
even
not
hear
come
it.
across your mic.
No.
Yep.
Oh, it didn't? Fuck!
No.
Okay.
Cleared your throat. Fucking love you.